those individuals who prep in advance are much more likely, and I would say statistically it would play out that they are realistically more successful than those who are on the other side of the table.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
All right, folks, welcome to the Appraiser Coach Podcast. My name is Dustin Harris. You are in the right place. Check this out, folks. I'm super excited. If you're on YouTube, you can kind of see this. So a couple of weeks ago, I reached out. I asked for help because every time I transition between the three cameras that I've got in the studio, I would have a little bit of a lag. You ready for this? Here we go. See that? No lag. Now, I know the camera angle is a little bit weird. I'm still working on that. I'll get it. I promise. But you see that? No lag at all. I've got a camera up here. I've got one up here. You see this little deal on my I don't even know what it's called. It's a video mixer, but it allows me to do some super cool things like transition between screens without lag. So no thanks to any of you. None of you actually reached out with any help at all. Thanks, but no thanks. I figured it out on my own. Here's the principle, right? You can't get something done with someone else. Do it yourself if you want it done right. But we got it done. We're still working on it. You're going to see a little bit of a jiggle on the screen when I'm on camera number one today because I'm still working on the tripod setup. Still need a piece. Amazon, get here. Still working, like I said, on this angle up here. Whoops. That angle up there. Still working on that one. We'll get it. I'm working on it. But super happy to be on YouTube and super happy to not have that lag anymore. There is a little bit of a graininess in the picture. You see that? I know we're getting into way too much inside baseball, especially for those of you who are driving down the road, doing your comp pictures, and you're saying and shouting at your radio saying, what the hell, Dustin? I don't care. I'm not watching you on video. Anyway, by the way, you should be. We're on YouTube, the Appraiser Coach YouTube channel. Check us out. Subscribe. Like that, right? All right, folks. I had an interview earlier today that made me think about something, and I really want to focus in on this. And it was the last episode that we had. So last week is when you heard it. And yes, I did record 2 episodes. This morning's went out last Sunday. This one going out this Sunday. And it was the episode with Ernie Ramos. And I love Ernie. Ernie is a friend of mine from way back. We go way back. I knew him before I interviewed him on the episode earlier for Appraiser Stories 7 years ago, and it's super good to catch up with him as well and just say hi and just talk and just enjoy friendships. One of the great things, the great blessings I have as the Appraiser Coach is I have an opportunity to interact with and get to know many people, and many people that I would consider my friends. Now maybe I'm overblowing it from their perspective to mine. But from my perspective to them, they are friends of mine, and I truly appreciate it. I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by 2 great companies. Of course, Alamode being one great sponsor here. Been here from the beginning. Alamode.com, 800 Alamode. Of course, Working RE Magazine. Find out more by going to workingre.com. Again, it's workingre.com. All right, folks. One of the things that Ernie said that I really loved, and I really want to just focus in on it a little bit right now. And it's an old axiom, and it goes way back. I always attribute it to Blaine Fine. Hi, Blaine. Love you, man. But I know it wasn't Blaine who came up with this. But the first time that I really heard it in earnest was with Blaine. And it's this idea or this axiom, motto, if you will, principle that you dig your well before you're thirsty. And I think we all understand naturally what that means, right? From a business perspective, we all have opportunities, but many of us are reactive to those opportunities. What does that mean? Well, very much what I'm saying, right? Reactive means that something happens and then you decide at that point what to do about it. Something happens and then you say, oh crap, or okay, interesting, and then you decide to react to it. Now, I will tell you that this is the way that most of the world works for obvious reasons, right? This is the way that most people do things. And honestly, that's kind of why they're at where they're at. That's kind of the reason that they're one of the 98 percenters, because they are reactive to things. They're reactive to the market. They're reactive to their health. I know I'm one to talk, right? Maybe we should change the camera angle so you can't see the belly. They react to the relationships that they're in. They react to any situational thing. Something comes about, and then they say, oh, gee, what should I do about this? Now, let's be fair. Every single one of us, myself included, fit into that box often, probably way too often, right? And so I'm not saying in any way with this podcast that those who are the 2%ers, those who are really, truly successful, consistently are proactive, right? And they're in preparation mode for what may come. But I will say this, that on the major things, and we're going to talk financially mostly today, right? We're going to talk financially, and I would say on a very high level, those who are proactive about making decisions before they happen, meaning they look at the worst case scenario, they look at possibilities, they have a vision, they have goals, they have things that they're stretching and reaching for. Those individuals who prep in advance are much more likely, and I would say statistically it would play out that they are realistically more successful than those who are on the other side of the table. I think you would agree with me, right? Let's look just anecdotally at one individual. Well, two. Let's take two examples. One of them being what's his name? Apple. Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was a visionary. I don't care how weird you think he is, and he was weird, right? Didn't wear deodorant, ran around the office in barefoot. He was a hippie, right? And I mean that in only the most positive terms of endearment. Okay, hippies meaning into the earth, into the world of nature, relationships, you name. Okay, all right. Stay on track, Dustin. Okay, I will do so. I will stay on track. He was a little bit strange, but he was a visionary in the sense that he could see what people want before they could see what people want. And that truly is what made him successful, right? I've used the example here before, and I'll use it again now because I think it makes and drives home the point that when he created the iPod, most everyone looked at him like he was completely nuts. Why? Because the market was not calling for an iPod. There were not people running around that said, gee, I wish I could have 500 songs in my pocket. That was not even a thing that they could even consider because it wasn't a thing to them. So he not only produced the product, but he also was proactive about convincing people that this is a product that they need. And in that sense, he was very much a forward-thinking, not reactive, but proactive person, meaning he prepared the market and then provided. Now, keep that in mind when it comes to your appraisal business, because I think there are some major principles and even practices involved in that story. The other individual that comes to mind is Warren Buffett. Now, I'll admit I don't know a whole lot about Warren Buffett. I know a lot more about Steve Jobs than I do about Warren Buffett. I've never even read a biography about Warren Buffett, but I do know a little bit about Warren Buffett. And I do know that he is famous for saying something to the effect, and I've tweaked it over the years. I say, if everybody's walking north, run south as fast as you can. But I attribute that tweak to his original comment, which I don't even know what it was. But it basically is, if there's a group of people going one way, go the other way, right? The way that Warren Buffett has worked is, first of all, fully understanding the types of and the investments that he's involved in. Okay, that's number one. But number two is to act on them. right? Not react to them, but act on them. To know kind of where the market's going before the market's going there, right? So an example, I don't know if he did this or not, but it's a contemporary example that I think will drive it home, right? A typical Warren Buffett move might be that in the end, the latter portions of 2021 and maybe the first portion of 2022, he would be shorting the housing industry, right? Or, vice versa. Back in 2018, 2019, he would have been buying stock in real estate moving forward, right? It's the idea of kind of knowing where things are going. Now, and I know some of you are going to say, well, that's just magic, Dustin. That's prophecy. That's why a lot of investors aren't successful, because they can't guess the market very well. And though I would agree with you, I would also say that if you take the time to study, if you take the time to reflect, I should say, take the time to reflect on where you were in 2022, the beginning of 2022. I don't think there is anybody within the sound of my voice who would not agree that it was very plain to see, okay, stick with me here, that the market was going to drop at some point. Now, no way you can predict exactly when, but there were signs showing that we were moving in that direction. Just as I would say to you now that if you are an appraiser and you're struggling to do business, and we're going to get into more of this after the break, but you've got to understand that the market's going to come back. It absolutely 100%, no doubt in my mind, will eventually come back. The question is when, right? Can you time the market? But the point in bringing up Steve Jobs and Warren Buffett is this: these people are proactive, not reactive to the market. What does that mean, Dustin? Well, that means that they see the signs and they put the pieces together, and then they, are you ready for it? Act. Then they act on that information. And by acting on that information, whoop, speed that up a little bit, all of a sudden, they're successful. Now, many of us can predict the market, but do we do a damn thing about it? Probably not. And that's kind of the key here. And that's something that I would help, to anybody be understand that we've got some things to do with our own lives and our own understanding of what we do and how we do it, right? What information do we take in? How do we process it? How do we spit it back out? But more importantly, how do we act on those things? Which leads me to the purpose of the podcast today. And it was something that Ernie said that I just absolutely loved, and I want to dig into it more after the break. But the comment was this. He said, the old axiom, again, Blaine Feyen comes to mind. He says it often, and I've adopted it as well, that you dig your well before you're thirsty. You dig your well before you're thirsty. But Ernie went on, I don't know if you noticed this. I actually think I probably circled back to it in the podcast, if I remember correctly. But I love that he said, you dig your well before you're thirsty, or you dig your well while you're thirsty. I think there's some wisdom in that. And I want to circle back to that after the break. I want to first pause and remind you that we're sponsored by a great company called A La Mode. Folks, in front of me is my setup, right? I've got a screen over here. I've got a screen here, and I've got a screen here. One of the cool things about A La Mode, and you can't see it fully from the screen that you're looking at now, but I'm pointing right now at my third screen. So what you can see is my laptop here. You can see my large screen. I think it's a 24-inch screen over here, right? That's horizontal. And then you can, if you could see, well, you can kind of see the corner of it here if you're on YouTube, right? So this is my vertical screen. And it's the same size as this one over here, but it's just turned sideways. Well, here's the cool thing, folks. I can put A La Mode on this screen, and I like to because the whole form sits there. And then over here or over here, I can detach, right, from the system. I can detach the addendum or whatever else I'm working on over here. So I can work on the form and the addendum at the same time. Folks, if you don't see the value in that, you're crazy, because it's super, super time saving. And it's super, super awesome. Check them out. Go to alamode.com or 800 Alamode. Of course, Working RE Magazine is a great sponsor here, has been from the very, very beginning. Isaac Peck, great editor over there at Working RE. Love talking to that guy. He knows what he's talking about, folks, because he is knee deep every day in real estate appraisal. If you want to know what's going on in the real estate appraisal world, you need to check out Working RE, and you can do it very easily, folks. It's called the internet, www.workingre.com. Again, it's www.workingre.com. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out with you in the podcast chair. Thank you for joining me if you are on YouTube. Of course, we are now, all episodes, including minisodes, are on YouTube now. You can find us if you're listening in your car, listening on your AirPods, listening on your laptop. Next time you're at the computer, folks, I want you to check us out. Go to youtube.com. I know it's a new fandangled thing, youtube.com. And just type in the Appraiser Coach. You will find my channel. Click on it, subscribe to it. You will never ever miss an episode, and you can kind of get to see the studio. I promise I'm going to fix that that camera. In fact, I'll do it right after this episode. I just need to tweak the mount so that it's a little bit more a little bit more aligned, so it doesn't look like I'm diagonal. But the rest of these are working super cool. We got the front camera and of course the side view as well. I'm super excited about the new system to move back and forth. You can tell that my lips are not quite synced up with the video right now. I'm working on that as well. I got another part coming. It's a work in progress, folks. We're getting there step by step, but thank you for joining me. Thank you for seeing kind of the behind the scenes, if you will, and checking out the studio, the broom closet, as I affectionately call it. Okay, we're talking today about something that Ernie Ramos said last week that I wanted to piggyback on, because it was a fabulous, brilliant thought that I think deserves a little bit more digging. Okay, and the thought is this. It's not just to dig your well while you're before you're thirsty. It's to dig your well. I almost gave it away. To dig your well while you're thirsty. Here's the principle. And I think this is what Ernie was trying to portray. In fact, he was talking about the things that he was doing and has done. He was, and kudos to Ernie. He's done some awesome, wonderful, amazing things. I think super cool to watch what he's done, but it's not too late. And I think that's what he was trying to portray. Many of us appraisers are sitting back and saying, okay, Dustin, you talk about Warren Buffett, you talk about the fact that he kind of predicts the market and he studies it out and he kind of knows what's going on, but he makes decisions and he moves before the market moves. And that's the key. That's why he's a bazillionaire, right? And yes, though that is true, what I don't want to see is my good friends, you listeners to this program, getting discouraged and saying, well, it's too late. It's too late for me. The reason it's too late for me is I should have got in when I could have earlier. I should have done this earlier. I shoulda. Ernie talked about the fact that he is residential, lending work, right? He is commercial, of course, and he's private. In fact, a lot of the work that he is doing now is on the private side. But he also talked about a hell of a lot of work and money, by the way. I think he mentioned on the program 30 or 40 grand, and it's probably more than that. That was just the initial investment that he spent, with websites and social media and SEO and campaigns. And all of these things work, folks, but they're not easy. They're hard. They're time intensive. And I think that's kind of the key here. But what I don't want you to do is to miss out on an opportunity because you hear this phrase, dig your well before you're thirsty. And you think, well, oops, too late now. I was thirsty a long time ago and now I'm famished. Now I'm cotton-mouthed. Now I can't even hardly, I need some chapstick, right? If you are in that situation, folks, will you please trust me? Please trust me when I say it's not too late. I mean that, folks. It's not too late. Now, some of you are sitting back and saying, well, Dustin said that the market's going to come back, and Dustin did say that, and Dustin will continue to say that because I am 100% firm and positive that that is the case. That is not an easy, that is not a difficult prophecy to make. Why? Because I'm looking at historical trends, and the cyclical market of mortgages and real estate always is circulating. And we are at the downward loop right now. Now, could it get worse? Sure, it could. Of course it could. I'm not saying we're at the very bottom. What I'm saying is we are on a downward sweep, which means a sweep eventually sweeps back up as well. When will that happen? I don't know. I have my predictions. I think that we're going to see some movement by the end of this year for sure. But what do I know? I don't. I honestly have, I shouldn't say no clue, but I don't have any special insight. Let's put it that way. And so this idea of understanding about the market and what the market can and can't do, I think is important. But more importantly, it's positioning yourself now, acting now as if it will come back, because it will. And so, Ernie, I love you, brother. Thank you for saying this. Not only do you dig your well before you're thirsty, but dig your damn well while you're thirsty. What are you waiting for? I mean it. When do you start to work on your private work or your commercial license or whatever it is out there that you are thinking might be a good idea? And folks, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. If you are sitting back and saying, yeah, Dustin, I knew this a year ago and I knew I should have done this, but now it's too late, shame on you. Shame on you, because it's not too late. It's not too late. You can dig your well while if you're still standing, if you still have energy enough to do something, do it. I've shared with this before and I'll share it now. I'm speaking generically because it would take too much time to go into detail. But I had a mastermind student who recently shared with us. He came to our mastermind. He set some goals. And honestly, I would never say this as a coach. I didn't say it to him because I'm nothing about cheerleading. I'm nothing but about cheerleading. I'm nothing but cheerleading. I'm nothing but about cheerleading, right? That's what a good coach does. One of the things we do. But he set some pretty lofty goals. And honestly, in my head, I'm like, okay, you do that, man. Not expecting him to bust his can at 60 hours a week in what it took to get there. Now, again, I'm not going to go into detail, but it's all the stuff you've ever heard, right? And then a little some more, right? But it was busting his can while he was slow, not doing appraisals, but marketing, getting himself out there, doing the two things that I tout all the time. Ready? You've heard them before. Number one, be known. Number two, be known as the expert. That's what he did for 3 months. Now, when he came back to our mastermind meeting the next quarter, I and everyone else in that room was absolutely blown away. I mean, I'm serious. I am not exaggerating when I say we were all blown away, not just at the work that he had done, but the results that he had gotten. And I don't remember the numbers now, but I want to say 70%. 70%. I'm not that far off, if I'm off at all. 70% of his business that month had been private work because he had busted his ass to do it. Folks, some of you would think, well, in 3 months? Yeah, in 3 months. In fact, in 2 months. Because he had left that meeting, he had busted his can for 2 months, and then he had received the fruits of his labor that following month and the 4 weeks previous to meeting with us again, so that he could return and report. So don't you dare sit back and say, dig your well before you're thirsty is over and done with, folks. It is not. You can start today, and I highly recommend that you do. Start today. Folks, I want to share with you on this same vein, upcoming March 20th, here on the appraisercoach.com, what to do when appraisal work is slow. In fact, let me just read to you the description because I think you're going to want to come. March 20th, right? Many appraisers are in a difficult place with the current interest rates, mortgage volume, and income levels. Where do we go from here? Yet there are many options for appraisers. It is not too late. Ring a bell? It is not too late to market yourself and your company. It is not past time for you to expand your territory or even add to your office staff. Even in today's slower market, there are options for maintaining and even growing your business. We will also discuss options for pivoting to other products or even cutting back for the time being. In this live and interactive webinar, Dustin Harris, the Appraiser Coach, gives real answers to tough questions. When appraisal work is slow, what next? Can't wait for you to join us, folks, on March 20th. Sign up now. The registration link is on my website, theappraisercoach.com. Thank you, my friends, and go create.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
We are going to do a webinar that will be this very topic. Okay. In fact, I'm gonna quickly look up the exact. We just barely came up with the actual name. Okay, the actual name of the podcast, and you're gonna love it. It is this. I'm waiting for my computer to catch up with all this new technology, this cool new technology. My computer's a little bit slow. Sorry, editor. We're gonna have to edit this out because I can't find it. Here we go.